Okay, everyone, I am back to continue my review of A Snake Falls to Earth by Darcie Little Badger. In the last video, I just talked about the role of fiction in relation to Exodus and what it means in relation to my personal practice. I also started by sharing a character analysis of the two main characters, Ali and Nina. And in today's video, I'm going to share a little bit about the theme and give a short book review. Okay, I'm jumping in here because I forgot to give a spoiler alert. If you are planning to read this book and you do not want to know about the themes, you do not want to know about the characters, I would suggest skipping all of these videos because I'm about to let it all out there. So it would be really easy to flatten this book's theme to the idea of climate change. And although climate change threads through the narrative, I think one of the major themes that I got from this is deep ecology, and it's framed in such an amazing way. I personally am prone to existential panic when it comes to climate change. And there's a way the author does a really beautiful job at positioning climate change as this impending threat, but pushing to the forefront this idea of deep ecology, where there is continued exploration of deep reverence when it comes to things that we are interconnected with. I myself am a Black woman, and I can't speak for Indigenous peoples or to the cultural history of Indigenous peoples, because admittedly I just don't know enough to feel comfortable doing that. But what was apparent to me is that that deep reverence was so interconnected with the cultural heritage that Nina was exploring through storytelling, even to the point where there were moments in the story where Nina was very tempted to share the stories of her grandmother, going back to the idea that Nina wants to be a storyteller within a digital age, where sharing publicly is directly aligned with success and validation. And even as a teenager, Nina makes the conscious decision and has a deep enough reverence to understand that her sharing those stories can in some ways create direct harm for the animal people and the mystical beings that are throughout the story, but also to her family. And in that way, it's almost like she recognizes that some things are meant to be protected, and that just pours back into this larger threat of climate change and how our direct actions influence the things around us. I don't think you can really talk about being in balance, respecting nature, and acknowledging the magic within it without talking about climate change. And the author does such a beautiful job at presenting the harsh reality of what is, but also threading hope throughout that story that really lies within our personal understandings of who we are and the powers of our legacy and lineage. And that brings me to the next point. The author does a really good job at grounding us in this desire for Nina to learn about her cultural heritage and lineage when it comes to their biological family, but slowly it opens up a lineage that really connects all things. The author does a really amazing job at world building within the book itself. Chapters are formatted at first to switch between both Ali's and Nina's perspective, slowly merging them as the story goes on. And within that slow merger, you really get a sense of Ali and Nina's individual connections to their homeland and the communities that they are currently situated within. For example, Nina is facing this existential threat of her family's land being taken away. And at first it feels like somewhat of a subplot until you realize that that land itself has a very special connection to the reflective world. Her family's land serves as this point of connection and protection. Another example is the way that the story presents these two worlds that in ways reflect each other but are very separate from each other. And as the story goes along, you begin to realize that the things that we do on this planet also reflect the reflective world, even though there was an exodus and almost seemingly a new creation of home that provides safety. There is no severing the connections that are made by cause and effect, by the impact of our actions. The last thing I want to talk about is the storyteller. So the role of the storyteller is not just to archive history. They play a really important role in educating people about the values that we must uphold currently, about the values that we must return to, and they give a really accurate reading on like how far we've trailed off from those values. With words, they weave and share history in a way that really illuminates interconnectedness. So those are the major themes that I picked out in the book. I'm sure there are some that I missed, and I'll be curious if you read the book, if you have any that you want to elevate. And now I'm going to end this video by just giving a really quick review of the book. So overall, I really enjoyed reading this book. I mentioned in the first video that for a long time, I was reading work that centered around the apocalypse, which was a personal decision. And it was a decision because I feel like when all of the work that you're reading is focused around that, it can very much leave you in the space of nihilism or preparing for the end before it's even gotten here. And again, this book addresses a real threat that could potentially bring about the end. And what really shines through is just a sense of hope. You see that in the way that the characters refuse to give up on their friends, refuse to give up on their homes, refuse to give up on the magic that is being a part of this reality. And it's grounded within this beautiful sense and this reminder that love can really push us to keep fighting when all of the odds seem stacked against us. Nina is a young girl who is curious, critical, compassionate, and deeply longs for a sense of understanding and connection to their lineage. And even at a young age, without maybe even being able to express it, there's just this silent understanding that coming into age is not an isolated experience, that it is informed by the people in our lives, the things around us, and understanding who we are is an interconnected and collective experience. And furthermore, that the things around us pour back into us, really giving meaning to what it is that we hold dear, what it is that we elevate, and what it is that we protect in our lifetime. With Ali and throughout the whole story, there's a sense of importance when it comes to having somebody to witness the lives that we live, even if the reality is mundane. There's something so beautiful about Ali refusing to give up on his little toad friend who could literally fit within the palm of his hand.